Hello and welcome to this new segment which I'm putting on Animasaurus called Newsodon. In Newsodon we take a look at the world in animation over the last week and see what sort of interesting stories we can dig out of it. First thing on my radar this week which happened is happy birthday to Cartoon Brew, who turned 16 this week. Congratulations, Cartoon Brew. I have really enjoyed watching you grow and love the stories you guys bring. So congratulations on your 16 years of bringing awesome content about animation to the world. The big thing which the world keeps talking about is the Meteorite Threat. Well, actually, no, it's not called the Meteorite Threat, but because YouTube has this interesting policy of demonetizing anyone who talks about it, we're going to talk about the Meteorite Threat and how this meteorite threat is actually impacting so much more than what you'd really notice. For me, in this world, it feels like really in the last 2 to 3 weeks, the impact of the meteorite is really spreading out over the world, where we're seeing a lot more things impacted. I think this is only the tip of the iceberg, and the meteorite's going to spread a lot more, and a lot more people are going to feel it. So we're all in this together, so let's just kind of work through it, and the meteorite, we'll get through this meteorite, unlike the dinosaurs that didn't get through theirs. So let's just take a look at cinema numbers, because this has a huge impact on the industry as a whole for content creators from all walks of life. When we look at cinemas have been built up over many years, since the 20s and 30s where they started taking hold with silent movies. We've been building into multi-million-dollar mega movies that just get rated from the box office. So now with the meteorite kind of taking so many things out of it, another one to take down, another industry completely in itself, because it does house so many people working in it. Like you've got your juniors on the ticket office, to everyone who pulls popcorn and sweeping, and all the guys up in the booth that actually run the movies. They're all affected by this quite large population of just shutdown. When we start looking in the US alone, you get the largest cinema chain, AMC Theatres, have closed down 630 cinemas. Regal have closed down 553 cinemas. Cinemark, which is also the third largest cinema chain in the US, closing down 347 locations. And Harkins have closed all of their locations as well. When you put all that together, that's like 1,300 different cinemas across the US which have closed down. That's quite a lot. Oh, that is not just quite a lot. That's a hell of a lot of impact for distribution as well as for entertainment. When Canada, you look at Cineplex, the largest one in Canada, have closed down all 165 locations. The second largest have closed down all locations. In the UK, Cineworld, Odeon and View have all closed down, together closed down over 300 cinemas. Dubai's closed all its cinemas, and Australia's now followed with closing down any non-essential events with more than 100 people. So this is going to really, have huge knock-on effects for however long this sort of pandemic and these lockout laws are put into place. Money is going to be hemorrhaged. And especially Hollywood itself really relies on big money, because there's a lot of money tied up in movies and in entertainment. So other forms of entertainment or other avenues for distribution will all of a sudden start finding ways of coming up into a sphere of being acknowledged. I know already you'll find that YouTube is already a place where there is more and more content getting produced to be put out there, because people have got the time to actually put into producing content. So while it's going to be a huge loss somewhere, it's going to be an interesting balancing point to see where that attention gets focused now to become the next big thing or the next avenue to an audience. Because really that's what everyone's after, is creating stuff that can be watched or viewed by people. But let's just take a look at some of the victims of the meteorite, which have really had a huge impact over this last week. First one we're going to take a look at is just Onward. The main reason we're going to look at this is because it has just been released 2 weeks ago. The first week it did open to a hugely lower than expected box office, and then for a second week we had a 71% drop in box office sales, down to 10.6 million. Now that still sounds like a lot of money. but it's given a grand total over those 2 weeks of 60 million for 2 weeks. This is the worst box office numbers for a Pixar released movie. This is really sad because this is also the first original Pixar film which we've seen for a couple of years. And it's also the first of two which they were going to release this year. The other movie they're going to release was Soul later in the year. But with this sort of box office numbers, it'll be interesting to see if they do keep Soul release. The next one we're going to have a bit of a talk about is Frozen 2. Now, Frozen 2 has been released for a long time and it's been out there in the ether with everybody to be able to watch. But the thing with Frozen 2 is it's been brought to streaming. It's been brought up to streaming a lot quicker. Now, probably a really good idea for this because there's more people at home now actually watching, and if Disney Plus are wanting to promote their product to be watched, then what better way than bringing Frozen 2 out so that more people will sign up to the subscription and start watching Disney movies. I think this is a great strategy for Disney, but do Disney really need it? Well, that's always debatable, but I think it's a great strategy for getting people to watch more movies. The next movie which is going to impact is Troll World Tour. Now, Troll World Tour is being brought out by Universal, and this is also going to be quite an interesting and pivotal movie over this period for release, because Troll World Tour will be available to rent and stream online at the same time as what it's getting released in cinemas. Now, this is going to be the first time that this has ever happened. Usually the cinemas have a lockout period where you can't get access to the movie anywhere else. They're speculating that it's probably going to be about $20 to rent the movie for a couple of days, which still, when you look at a cinema, you know, that's comparative, but it's going to be more about how this folds out and then the longer term impact on how this strategy works, because it might sort of break convention and it will be setting a precedent for if this convention can keep being brought out once the threat of the meteorite sort of passes. Now, outside of this, just for discussion points, let's just talk about the production of these sort of movies as well. Like, large-scale cinemas have always had issues with getting people to work and NDAs, or non-disclosure agreements. These things have kind of really tied people into always being on site and not being able to work anywhere else. With the meteorite causing everybody into hysteria, a lot of productions have now gone looking at, well, we've still got a production deadline, we still need to produce content, but how do we go about doing that now? A lot of different industries have been able to maneuver themselves to all of a sudden go, you know what, let's just work towards an online grid to get things off and running and continue going. A lot of smaller studios have gone, you know, let's put in the infrastructure and test infrastructure so that we can work through close downs of studios or people who are wanting to work from home that can keep production going. But it's been the larger houses which have, I guess you'd say, wrangled with keeping their content and their intellectual property tied up so tight that no one's been able to access it off site for so long that this is like a thorn in the side that that is either going to pressure them to they bust, or there's going to be change somehow. I kind of think that working from home is definitely something that's, I think the industry has been wanting this sort of change for quite a while, and it's just needed a pinnacle to go, all right, just a little shove off the cliff to go, let's see how well it actually works. There are studios which have put this in place and they've been creating content. Artella is a great platform where this is proven that a remote working team or world association of animation can be brought together to create content. It's not new, but I think it will be having a spotlight shined on it to a point where the industry will go, this is actually a viable option for production. The last thing I just wanted to bring up in this episode is Toon Boom have taken the step of going, you know what, since there is so many studios looking at working, since there are so many studios now looking at having a remote workforce, For a 2-month period, Toon Boom are allowing Harmony people with a license or studios with a license to have access to Harmony from home so that students and studio individuals can keep working on productions. This is like, it's a Christmas present for anyone who's using Toon Boom to go, here you go, you don't have to stall your production because of software. We are going to allow you to use the product. You've bought the license, but since the out of control, circumstances out of your control have ceased production, here you go, we'll help you keep production rolling. So thank you, Toon Boom. What a forward-thinking kind of step to take. I look forward to probably more software companies looking at a strategy to help production companies keep production rolling. So again, more exciting news will definitely roll out. Thank you very much for joining me on this first ever Newsodon. Leave me comments down below. Everybody stay safe in this period. Animation is a great way of telling stories, and I think there will be some amazing stories to come out of this period that will be put together to wonderful, raving reviews. Until the next time we see each other again, bye bye.